Today's June 9th, another series win this weekend. That's 2 in a row. Rowdy Tellez had a game to remember on Saturday, and you know we have to talk about it. You're listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Let's go. Yins, guys. Thank you for listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast, where we talk all about them Pittsburgh Pirates and that. My name is Josh, and I'm joined as always by my brother Jake. What's up, Jake?
How we doing today, man?
Doing good. Doing fine. Doing all right. It's just like a step down, right? Every time I say something else. It's awesome. Doing good.
Good.
How are you doing?
Dude, I'm doing
technically,
all
I
right.
asked you that already.
Yeah.
I say what's up. So how are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Good. Good.
You recovered from your day trip?
Day trip, man. We sometime during the week, at some point, whatever day it was, Katie was like, "Hey, what do you think about going to the Pirates game on Saturday?" And I said, "Well," I think she said it at one point, and I was like, "Hey, I think I'd be down." And then it was another point when I was like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a bullpen game. So I'm not sure I want to go. And then it was, yeah, let's do it. We could use that time. And because the thing is it's a drive, right? And I dropped the kids off at our parents' house, and then we drive into, and then we go into town and go to the game. And so, like, we get that block of time where we don't have to, I don't want to say, like, we don't have to be with the kids. But, you need that time. And then we just picked them up and drove the trek back. We didn't do any overnights. It was all in one day, which I've done already a couple times, or maybe at least one other time. It's for the Skeens debut. I know I did it by myself, but I tend to prefer the 4:00 start because of that.
Yeah.
I think it's easy. Really, even 1:00, I could leave early enough to make it like well worth it to be a day trip. You get home a little better time.
Yeah.
But it ended up being a game that we're probably going to spend some time on. So for those of you listening, once again, we do this show live on YouTube. And so you'll hear us reference some chat, Pit City What in the chat already today. Saying extend Rowdy. We are going to talk Rowdy Tellez today, and a series win, some shutouts, a bullpen game, as I just alluded to, and really just anything else we want to get into around the series. I think we have enough to talk about around the games in the series. We connected maybe 15 minutes ago, and we were already going, and I just, every once in a while we do that, and I say, save it, man. Let's fight on air. So anyway, I'll get this out of the way. Sources are telling Alex Stump that the Pirates are promoting Braxton Ashcraft to AAA Indianapolis. That was that thing. You really should have been like, you say it that way, and it's like, what? What? To AAA. I think he's been good enough that maybe we'll get into some reasons why he should come all the way up. But either way, yeah, that's good. I mean, I feel like Indianapolis pitching staff right now is in need of some. We've got them all, the good ones already.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're in need of some fire, some good pitching there.
Yeah, if the Priester injury ends up being a little longer than maybe anticipated, he might be on a short track.
Well, so Martin Perez is supposed to come back, make his next start. So we should be okay there as far as that goes. Well, then Priester is in Indianapolis when he gets back off. You know what I'm saying? So you do have that. But then as anything else happens, but you're right though, because Priester is your depth. And if anything else, happens or goes wrong, then yeah, I mean, it's Ashcraft's on the 40-man. I actually was curious as to whether or not they would say, let's give him a start on Saturday And then when we send him back down, we could send him to AAA.
Yeah.
That was kind of what I thought might have been the move heading into this week, but I don't know. So Shaird's in the chat says day trips for Pirates games can be fun and draining. That is fair. That is fair. We got home at midnight and it can take it out of you. So that is definitely true. I even left the Skeens game early that night because of the rain. I saw all of Skeens.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, like, that's what it was like, well, we're blowing this game, which that usually doesn't matter to me. Like, I was at the Reds Pirates game, and we came back from 9. I'm not going anywhere. You know what I mean? I'm waiting them out no matter what.
Admission, you're going to stay.
100%. Katie always tells when we go with other people, and they're like, oh, if they start talking about maybe we'll beat traffic or whatever, Katie says, no, they asked us to turn the lights out tonight, so we're going to be here a while. That's her line. They asked us to turn the lights out. We're going to be here. We're not leaving early to a game.
Yeah.
Or from a game. So anyway, we got home around midnight, but we left at like 10. So it's a long day, but like it's not like we left at like 6 a.m. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
So, although I can't see at night. Like, I got so many problems with my eyes. Like, I can't see any. I'm driving there, and I'm like, if there's a light, right, there's like 3 lines after it. And I'm like, this is too much.
Yeah, I struggle with that a little bit, too.
Well,
mostly when it's raining, though.
Yeah.
If it's a dry night, I'm okay. But if it's raining at night, forget about it.
Yeah. Well, and I got dry eyes right now. Like, I got this red. I don't know if you can see how they're red. Like, I don't know if they look red in there.
See.
Yeah. And so I've been putting these drops in, but like that's playing a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. That happens to me every once in a while. My eyes get real dry and my eyes start watering. It's like I'm full on like crying, but I'm not crying.
I would have loved
watering that bad. And I'm like, tell my eye doctors all the time, like this happens and it happens often. They're like, it's fine. It goes away. I'm like, tell that to me when I'm driving 70 down the highway because it's awful. Like I can't see. I have pulled over before because I couldn't see anything.
Yeah. Well, I've got the implantable contact lens in the one eye. The other eye had cataract, so I can't see up close. It's a mess. Yeah, it's a mess. Here we go in the chat. Brock James, if you guys have been following along, he was on one of the episodes here. Brock is our good friend who played in a band with me and Jake back in the day. He said, good thing we're not touring anymore because I can't see more. We wouldn't have anybody to drive. We'd have to do all of our drives and then we'd be getting up as soon as the sun comes up and we'd be going. Can't drive overnight anymore. That drive from Nashville to Bryan, Texas, that overnight, that wouldn't be happening. We'd have to say
the drive from the venue to where we were staying that night was the worst.
Yeah, that's true.
But
that's true. So anyway, enough about that. Let's talk Pirates. Series win.
Yeah.
So a couple things on this. I think I don't remember the numbers they were saying. Back-to-back shutouts, like that's fun. I think it's been quite a while since the Pirates were able to do back-to-back shutouts. The fact that one of them happened on a bullpen game is unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We talked before the game, a couple of us. I saw Gary at the game from Pirates Fan Forum. I saw some, I talked to some people before, and I basically said, like, best case scenario you could possibly go with is Majinski gives you 2 innings and Ortiz gets you through the 6th. It was almost that way, but I would say I would qualify that as still best case scenario, right? Majinski doesn't quite give you 2, but Ortiz is able to get you through that 6th. That's best case scenario. All the stars aligned for that game. Just wild to do 2 back-to-back shutout. But the back-to-back series, Jake, and I looked it up because I was not sure because I did it. I looked it up and I looked back through and I was like, that can't be right. So I did it again. Yeah, we have not had back-to-back series wins since the first week of April. It just hasn't happened. 2 series in a row. Since the first 3 series of the season, we haven't done it.
Right.
If that doesn't tell you a little bit about how things are going, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not even asking for a winning streak at this point, right? But back-to-back series wins, like that's a big deal at this point.
Absolutely. Especially when, very how should I put it? Very rightly so. Like you were on the right track. You sent me that text at the beginning of the week. Be ready to be in last place by the end of the week.
I did. It's funny. I told you that thinking that it would have been maybe we lost 2 of 3 to the Dodgers, but we knew the Reds had Colorado.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of one of those things. I was like, we're going to be in last place by the end of this week.
I don't know where we're at after today's, but I know after yesterday's game,
same thing.
We were in third.
Yeah, but it jumped so quickly. We're right back in last now. I'm going to double check that, but here's the thing. We're back in last, and as of right now, a half a game out of the wild card with like 17 teams tied for that last spot.
Yeah.
So you say a half a game out, right? First off, let's clarify this. It's June. There's just so much baseball left that this is so to me, so petty. And I understand we look at it, right? We look at the standings. We look to see where we are. I think it's important to do that. But there's a lot of teams in the mix here. There's a lot of baseball to play. And saying that you're a half game out of the wild card is not like, yeah, but it could still go any direction.
But here's the point in saying we're a half game out of the wild card. No matter how many teams there are, it's June. I know you say it's only June, but it's June. Now's when you start trying to figure out whether you are going to add something to try to make a run. And you just start kind of like looking and digging into that. Like, do we want to do something? Do we want to stay put? We want to sell, buy, all of that. You start that in June, I feel like.
I think in certain seasons and in certain times, that's definitely a possibility. I would think for the Pirates right now, year 5 of a rebuild, we hear that all the time. We hear that line all the time. Year 5. A lot of times it's coming from fans who are disgruntled. Year 5 and we don't have anything. And it's like, well, yeah, that's the blueprint, man. Year 5, it's not supposed to be a World Series contending team if you're building it with this blueprint. And let me just say, there are multiple ways to rebuild a team, right? You can do it like the Mets are doing, which is not working. That's really bad. And it's foolish, right? It's just dumping a ton of money in there. We don't even know if that's going to click. We don't even know. We're paying a bunch of money. You're paying a bunch of money. They're veterans. You don't know when they're going to start, to regress at their age level or whatever it is. It usually is a recipe for disaster if you don't already have a core to just spend that money around. That's usually how it goes, right? Hey, we've got this group now. Let's spend a bucket of money. And now let's get good. And I think that's a good way to spend a bucket of money. But they were just like, this whole thing's bad. Let's just go buy everyone and then hope it works. It's not working there. It's not working in San Diego. We know that. So that's kind of, one way to do it. Another way to do it would be to like wreck the thing, but get people who are close. And that way you can build it within like 3 years and do like a 3-year rebuild. And that requires the trades. You're not going to get lower level minors. You're not going to get maybe the best player, right? But you're going to get the closest player. Think about like what Huntington did when he got Joe Musgrove, right? Now the rest of that trade was kind of meh. Moran spent some time, but meh. But Musgrove was a really good pickup. I'm not sure that, we can all look back at that trade and say, I'm not sure that was a Garrett Cole return.
Yeah.
But it was at least we got a quality Musgrove that we were able to turn over for more players once there was somebody else in charge. Now, that's Huntington. He's probably not turning Musgrove over, right? Because that's the guy he went out. It doesn't matter. But you get guys like that so that you can say, no, we want to build some of this supporting cast. And then you use free agency, which is never going to happen in Pittsburgh. But then you use free agency to pile onto that. And what that does is it usually creates a smaller window. So what that rebuild does is it's kind of like a flash flood. You know what I mean? Like, let's just, boom, let's blow it up. Let's get a bunch of players who are about to be here. Let's spend money on free agency. And I feel like you can open a window within 3 years doing it that way. But it's probably only going to last you a window.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're seeing the Pirates do right now, we saw it from the very beginning. It was extremely clear. They're going that route of, and these are the two teams I say every time. There are more teams, right? But the two teams that I use every time are the Houston Astros and the Baltimore Orioles. And their plan took 4 years of brutal seasons. And then a year where they took a step forward, and which is what the Pirates are doing this year. And then they've been good since. Now, Baltimore's still very early in this, right? Yeah. They had the whatever year, and then last year was their big, like, okay, we're competitors now. Or we're in contention, we'll say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, and now they're just going to keep doing that. And they're a contending team. They're going to be on people's World Series list. They're going to be, you know what I'm saying, at the top of the division. And the idea is that they did it in a way that they're starting to get guys like Cedric Mullins and that group of guys who they might be interested in flipping because of all these young outfielders they still got coming, that they'll be able to deal them and load up, right? We've already seen the Corbin Burns deal to say like, no, let's get this thing going. You know what I mean? And so they're going to continue to do that sort of thing, but because it's going to be in waves, they should be able to remain a good team with good fortune, which is, how do you say it? To be like, that's obvious, right? I mean, the guys have to continue to work out. The trades have to be good. And it's not like it's easy and it's like, oh, well, that's the only way to do it. Like Houston, for much of it, has had some like Bregman's been there, Altuve's been there. You know what I'm saying? Like they've had some of those guys, but you've also seen some of those guys go. Carlos Correa is gone. That was an outfielder.
Marisnik.
Well, yeah.
Part of that.
Yeah, but not like that core.
Jose Siri.
Okay, so either way, there's been some guys. The older guy, the macaroni thing hair. Whatever that guy's.
Gurriel.
Yeah, he's been gone. But like there's been some different guys that have kind of gone through that. I can't believe I can't think of. There was another guy that was like
Maldonado.
There was like a key guy though. Like there was Bregman, there was
Springer.
George Springer. Thank you. That's the guy I was thinking of. Like that's that's one of the big ones. But you see Springer and but then all of a sudden here comes Tucker. Here comes Jordan. You know what I mean? Here comes what's his name at shortstop? Is it Pena? I'm blanking on the Astros.
Yeah, Jeremy Pena.
Jeremy Pena. Dude, they've been like not good this year. And so like I feel like I'm not watching them at all. But just kind of forgetting some of them. There we go. We've got a couple guys throwing Springer in there that I was forgetting. So Michael from 412 Shared's out there. So yeah, thank you guys. But like those guys are able to get something else because they've got those other guys coming up. And they're going to keep, their pitching staff has actually been probably really surprising because I feel like, and maybe I don't pay close enough attention, but I feel like these guys come up and I'm like, oh geez, who's that? And then he's like, snow hitter. Yeah. Well, he was grippy, or sticky stuff. But anyway, you know what I mean? Even like Framber, I was like, Framber? Oh, this dude's a stud. You know what I mean? So whatever it is, it's the idea is, and if you, like I said, it's always if you have good fortune, is that you can build something that wins long term. I think that's probably too good to be true, to be honest with you. The Astros have spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
In the process. And I forgive me for not believing that that's ever going to happen here. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a reasonable amount of money that'll be spent. I think that it'll always be less than what we think it should be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And until something drastic changes, whether that's the economics of baseball or whether it's something to do with ownership. Okay, so we've got a question about the Ashcraft promotion, Indy. We did bring that up. But anyway, it's, I'm not sure where I started on this. Year 5.
Yeah.
It was all a year 5 thing, a rabbit trail. It's been a long time since we've talked about that necessarily. So, just riffing a little bit here. But the Pirates are in year 5. And I feel like there is a little bit of what you were saying, if everybody can go back in time and remember, and for guys like Michael that weren't in here, you brought up the fact that like June is the time that you can start seeing what your plans are going to be for that season. I think it's harder than that for the Pirates.
Well, sure. I do too, but I still think June is a good, it's when you just start thinking about it. You have to start early enough.
Let me ask you this, and if you don't have an answer and you haven't really looked that deep, that's fine. But because we are kind of, we didn't really plan much here. We knew that we had enough to go off of tonight. What would it look like for the Pirates? And I'm going to go the opposite direction right now. What would it look like for the Pirates to be sellers?
I mean, that's tough because we don't have a lot of people on our roster that we can just be sellers. You're not selling Reynolds. He's way too controllable. You just signed him. You're not selling.
Yeah. Keller, Hayes, Reynolds, you're not talking.
You're not selling any of them. I mean, maybe like, Bednar or Chapman.
Chapman's an easy one.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, I am not suggesting selling.
That's not what I'm saying.
Selling Bednar.
No, what I'm saying is, what is it? Yeah,
he's one of the guys that you would be able to sell if you were selling. Man, maybe if he comes back and still throwing well, maybe Martin Perez.
Okay, so let's stop there for a second. If you want to keep thinking, you can. Martin Perez, probably a guy that if you are dealing him, he's going somewhere to a contender that's just maybe looking for depth. Hey, we don't really have a guy in AAA that we'd love to, like they don't have a Quinn Priester that they could just say, well, if this guy gets banged up, we'll bring up Priester. He'll be a good 5 until we can get to the playoffs. You know what I mean? They don't have, you're looking for a guy that they're probably going to get him. They're going to throw him in the bullpen. Maybe they just had an injury and they want him as a number 5. You're talking about a playoff team. He's probably that kind of guy. I don't know what you get for that.
Right.
It's a 1 year, not even a 1 year, it's a couple month rental, and it's not like he's going to really move the needle. He's just going to keep you from, he's going to keep you going, right? I guess that's really all I can imagine. Aroldis Chapman, obviously, you have some time for him to prove that he's got something. I'm not going to lie. I think that there's somebody out there who will probably be like, he's only been traded twice in the middle of the season, and both of those teams won the World Series, so I'll take a chance. But he's also got so much money that there's no way you're going to get a big return for that. Last year, I think that Cole Ragans, I think it's how you say it, Ragans, maybe it's Reagans. I think it might be Reagans. The Cole Ragans return to Kansas City from Texas on the Aroldis Chapman deal, he was dealing and he was cheap. He just didn't have that big contract last year. And so for them to get a guy like that, I think was ideal. And if the Pirates could land something like that, sure. I just don't know that that's a thing that's going to happen.
Yeah, and I think if you were to sell Chapman, being that we signed him to a bigger deal, you eat some of that money.
Mm-hmm.
You don't trade the whole contract, and that's how you end up getting something back.
Yeah.
You get a little bit better of a piece if you eat some money.
Sure. Yeah. And then to go to the first guy you mentioned, I think is probably the guy that you'd be dealing with, and that's David Bednar. And that's not going to be popular for one. But
no, nor do I agree.
Well, but the thing is if you're saying if they decide to be sellers,
mm-hmm.
then Oh, you know what? Sherrod brings up a good point. Connor Joe is probably a guy that he's got some control. He probably is a guy that could get you a return if he continues to play like this. And he's probably a guy that they would be willing to move if you're being sellers. That's a good point too, as far as that side of things. And let me finish my thought on Bednar, and then I'll go back to Joe because I think that's actually different. I don't know what that back to Bednar. I don't know what that does for 25. Right? I mean, we know what it's like to have like, hey, the bullpen's our strength. And then all of a sudden the bullpen's injured and it's no longer your strength. And then the guys that are there aren't performing for one reason or another. Chapman, I think, because he was so used early and then he fell apart. And I think he's starting to creep back into, like, I think we're seeing some much better quality innings from him. Mm-hmm. Bednar didn't have a spring. He basically gave us his spring training trying to save games. It didn't work out. He's been fine. His ERA is like a 2 or less since May 1st. I don't think the command on his curveball is not there yet, but he's good enough that he can get away with it. As far as Connor Joe, I think that is maybe something that you could say, well, they could move him. And Chapman, obviously, because those guys aren't there. If Tellez starts hitting, my goodness, didn't think I'd be saying that. Then he could be a piece that but you still, it's just not much. And I'll be honest with you, if Tellez starts hitting and some of these other guys, I just don't see us making the decision to be sellers when you start saying like, well, we got a bunch of guys that are now doing good. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you kind of run into that as well. With that said, it's a little easier to see this team being a buyer or just staying put in a way.
Right.
You know what I mean? I just have a hard time seeing them. And that's why I say, like, I think for what they're doing right now, you're mostly saying, are we buying or are we just going to stay put?
Yeah.
Because they're not in a position to say, like, if we have quality players with control, we want them.
Right. And I think the only two that you would see at all, I really do think it would be like a Tellez or Chapman. I think that's it. I think they're going to hold on to Joe.
Yeah, they really like him.
You got to keep a first baseman. I mean,
yeah.
And I can't.
Not if you're selling. I mean, Jake Lamb comes up and finishes a season. Yeah, just like Rivas did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you're selling, no, you just bring up Jake Lamb. And
I just don't want, I kind of don't want Joe and Rowdy both hitting at the same time because that means Joe's going to play the outfield. And I just don't want to see that.
You don't want to see that. Is there like, you don't like him in the outfield, or you just
think he's a good outfielder?
Okay. I mean, I think he's fine in right field.
I feel like he struggles. You definitely can't play him in left. Especially at home. That looked ugly today.
Well, I'll be honest with you, dude. We were there on Saturday, and it didn't matter what team was out there. You couldn't see the ball. Yeah, Brian Reynolds had one that he kind of was like, he lost it, and Cruz came back and caught it. There was a foul ball that hung in the air forever. And I was like, maybe Reynolds was playing like the notch gap or something. But when he went back out there, he really wasn't. And he was like, he's just running and he's looking and he's like, well, I'm not sure where it's at, but I'm going to keep running. And nobody was close to that ball. You know what I mean? Like I feel like somebody's made a comment like, you got to catch that. I heard you got to catch that 3 times during that game on Saturday, right? That was one of them. Nobody was in 20 feet of that ball. You got to catch that. And I'm thinking like, I don't know that you got to. A lot of stadiums, that's 10 rows and about to, like out in the crowd.
Yeah.
And then there was another one where Key dove and Cruz slid. either one of them is going to be a really great play.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy behind me, oh, you got to make that play. I'm thinking like, no, I don't see you got to make that play there.
Yeah.
Geez. You got to make that play. Come on, man. Anyway, you got to make that play. So there was another play where Reynolds hit the ball. And the third baseman, they were shifting a little bit, so the shortstop was out of the play. Like Correa didn't even run.
Yeah.
Third baseman's going back. Left field, it was Kirilloff at the time. He's coming in. And finally, Kirilloff, like third baseman, I think got to a point where he's like, all right, I mean, that's clearly not my ball. So he just pulls up. And then Kirilloff goes like this. It lands, I mean, there's 15 feet. The ball lands on, like, somebody was like, they weren't even close. And I'm like, well, they didn't know where the ball was. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then you saw Jack today. Or was it today? Yeah, it was today's game. You got Jack towards the wall kind of doing one of these things, which is, that's the move you make when you can't see the ball.
Yeah.
And so, there's something, maybe the sky, maybe this early June time frame that 4 o'clock, by the way, I looked at the time, it was 4:15 when Jack missed that ball. And so I don't know if there's some of that out there, but that time, and the other game started at 4, and that was early on when Reynolds lost that ball. So I think there's something about that time of the day right now. And obviously that changes, 3 weeks,
Throughout
it'll
the
be
season.
a different time of the day, right? So early June might be a tough time to have a 4 o'clock fly ball to left field at PNC Park.
Well, the one that it was a line drive, and he was kind of didn't catch it.
So he slid, right? It missed his glove, went under his glove.
No, that's the one he dove for. I'm talking about the one that was just a routine. He just needed to backhand it. And he didn't. It was in his glove.
I missed it.
His error.
I missed it.
Yeah, the one error in the game today.
Okay. I totally missed that one error. Shame on me.
It's fine. Yeah.
Did a run score on
Pay
it?
attention.
Was that
ended up scoring?
Was it on the first?
inning.
Okay, so I did like I skipped the first inning. I missed. We were eating. We had some friends over. Actually, Joe came over. Did you know that?
I did see they were in Cleveland, but I didn't know they came over.
They came down.
Nice.
Anyway.
Nice.
So anyway, I get that. I don't think that he's necessarily. I think he's probably better fit for right field, but I don't have a problem with him out there. And still giving you left-handed innings at first base. How many times has he played left field this year? You know what I mean? 3 times?
Yeah, couple. Yeah.
I don't think he's that bad to where I'm saying I don't want him out there.
I did like seeing Kutch in the outfield today.
Okay, so that's another thing.
nice.
I really liked seeing Kutch. I'm going to take you back to Saturday, 9th inning, 8th inning, bottom of the 8th inning. They threw up and in on McCutcheon, right? He goes down. He's holding his knee. I'm thinking he's not even getting up. He finally gets up. He takes a few steps over. He's doubled over. Derek Shelton and the trainer come out. He does not look good. He limps back up to the batter's box. He takes what I thought was a good swing on a fastball. And I actually, off the bat, was like, oh. And then it was like a lazy fly ball. And I couldn't help but think, like, that's not good. He had nothing behind that swing.
Yeah.
And I played this thing in my head, right? As I mean, I got a 3-hour drive home. You know what I mean? I had time to think.
Yeah.
And I'm playing this thing out in my head, and I thought, I think he's hurt. I think he's hurt bad. And I think he knows it. He's 37. I thought, if that's an ACL, and he's thinking it's an ACL, I think Derek Shelton goes out there and he says, this might be my last swing of my career. I'm going to take this swing. That's what went through my head, because I thought he put a good swing on that. I mean, I'm in the stands. I'm not watching on TV. He might not have had a good swing on it. But that's just how it played out in my head, is I thought, ACL, that's going to be a year. He's not even signed for next year. He's not going to get back till June, July of next year. I mean, let's get real. He's not young. He's going to take a little bit longer to get through this. Are the Pirates going to sign him for the stretch at 38 after coming off an ACL? I just didn't see that. And I'm I'm not kidding you, man. I thought I was there for his last at bat. And then I get the lineup today. I was like, he's not only okay, he's actually playing the outfield, you idiot. So, sometimes we can go a little too far with our thoughts. I was dead serious, man. I thought that was it. Oh my gosh. So anyway, 2 shutouts is crazy. Good series. Let's go ahead and talk about Saturday's game in Rowdy Tellez. I mean, that's the big thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's booing him. A little bit of a different perspective after the game, though, because I found out some new information that I didn't notice at the game. And that is that there were some people doing a Rowdy chant before the home run. Now, I didn't hear that at the game. Apparently, it was upper level, which also means I'm not sure Rowdy heard it. But I was under, so there, sound travels in a specific way. I did not hear the chants. I heard all the boos, and the double play, the boos were many, I guess. Apparently somebody in the upper deck started chanting Rowdy. Felt bad for the guy because everybody was booing him. I don't know if that plays. What I do know is Rowdy's been hitting lately. Mm-hmm. And I say that with some pause because he's not hitting home runs. And I don't care if he's hitting singles. We've talked about this on this show when we said, I think it's time.
Yeah,
and we were ready.
Been hitting extra base hits.
He has been hitting some doubles. We've been waiting for some more lift. That hasn't been happening. And then the home run. And kudos to everybody in attendance. By the way, really great crowd. I'm not kidding you. Like, there are times you go to a baseball game and you're so plugged into a 0-0 game because for me, that's so exciting. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it is for you too. I mean, real baseball heads, we're on the edge of our seat knowing that literally any pitch this game could change.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's just this really exciting game. And that crowd stayed in it, man. It felt like everyone there, and maybe there was somebody close by that was on their phone the whole time, but most of the crowd stayed engaged. And that person that we could see on their phone the whole time was way in it when it got really exciting. You know what I mean? So it's they were just kind of waiting for something to happen. But, for everyone else, and there was base runners, there was double plays, there were still things to root for. You know what I mean? There were some good at bats and stuff like that. And if you know baseball, there was some exciting stuff. Were you able to watch that game live or were you working?
I was actually playing softball.
Okay. So a little bit different. You're more looking back and knowing what happened when you were watching. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that crowd stayed in everything. No one tried to do the wave.
Ooh.
No one,
they were doing that in the ninth inning today.
Well, you got, almost 30,000 people there. And you know what I mean? By the way, who was it? It was the London game. Did you hear that? They were talking about the Pirates. Did you see that
really?
clip?
Mm-mm.
They were at another game. They were talking about the Pirates. There's a clip out there saying, look at these guys talking about the Pirates. And I think it was Przinski saying they need to go out and spend some money. They've got a good core there, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But the fans in London were doing the wave, trying to do the wave. And the quote very early in this clip was, I had to listen to the clip again because I was raging in my head. I couldn't hear anything else he said after he said, give the fans in Pittsburgh a reason to do the wave. And I'm like, what did you say? And he's complimenting the Pirates after that. And I just am seeing red, right? I just can't. I don't know if for anybody following here, Jake and I, we ban the wave more than we give them a I say take away the fans' reasons to do the wave. You do the wave when there's nothing else to do.
Right.
Let me know Is my chat working? I haven't seen anything. Somebody pop something in there so I know that it's still working. And there's a delay, so it'll be, a little bit before they do. Yeah. Anyway, we hate the wave. And it's like, hey, we used to say ban the wave all the time, and then MLB said, we'll just put up a net. They don't have to pay attention.
Yeah.
There's a net now. You can do the wave all you want.
Okay. I don't mind the wave if you're winning 17-2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have at it. It's a party.
Yeah. Or losing 17-2.
If you're losing,
find a way to have fun at the ballpark. You spent money.
That's fair. Okay.
Oh, that was it?
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, it just, if it's remotely, if it's ban
the woo. Ban the wave, ban the woo. Let's go. We can't ban the DH anymore, Walkie.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I can't take it.
Yeah.
And then in the 9th inning today in a close game, they're starting to do the wave.
Yeah. Were we on the mound? That's the biggest for me.
Hitting.
Okay. If we're hitting, I'm a little bit better about it. It feels like every time I'm there and we're on the mound and we got this swirling thing just driving the pitcher nuts, we always give up runs. Like, dude, stop. So anyway, I always like to say, like, hey, 1989 called and they think that the wave is dumb already. So let's stop doing it. You know what I mean? Anyway, the fans were really engaged in this game. I thought it was really, I was impressed by the crowd. When you start to get bigger crowds, a lot of times you end up with a bunch of people not paying attention or not understanding, that there's actually a baseball game going on. So they were pretty good. Anyway, Boo and Rowdy big time. And Katie doesn't like that. Obviously, she's a big time non-booer. I don't like to boo. I kept telling her, like, listen, he's earned it. He's earned the boos. I said my piece about Bednar. I think he got booed way too early. I think Rowdy Tellez has earned it. I think Rowdy Tellez has owned up to it and said, I deserve it. The same guy who says we don't do that, because we don't do that for Bednar after like 2 blown saves. You know what I mean? But a guy like this who's paid to come here and hit home runs, absolutely, he's earned it. So anyway, they're booing him, and then he hits the home run. Immediate turn. You know what I mean? It was like, you came in, now we'll applaud you. And I was really impressed by that, because I know that, on Twitter, everybody's like, crap, now we'll have to watch him play for another year. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure, or not another year, another month. Because when he had a 2-hit game, that's what everybody said. They're like, oh, geez, he just bought himself 2 more weeks. It's like, okay. But there's some cool things that come behind this.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the month of June, and I know it's a short sample so far, but they made the comment on the broadcast today. He's actually have more hits in June than he's made outs.
Oh,
like it's
or been on base more because of walks, or maybe it is June.
I mean, the term he said was he's got more hits than outs.
Okay. Yeah,
but,
and that, well,
I mean, if things are starting to click, then things are starting to click. He's hit in 2022 is when he hit 30-something home runs, right? I mean, it's not.
Yeah, because he was 2 for 3 today, so that's probably that. I see that. So I saw the post, and they talked about it in Toronto with the kid who was there to see him, and it's his favorite player, and he's always going and seeing him. And there was a post today that said that was May 31st. He heard about this kid coming to the game, caught wind of it somehow, whether it was Twitter, social media, whatever, and he invited the kid down on the field. You know what I'm saying? Probably I mean, how in the world does this kid latch on to Rowdy Tellez and then stay with that? So there you go. Michael, 412 double play, 7 for last 14 with a walk. Brock says he just needed to change his walk-up song. And, you texted me this, Brock, and I so dumb, already forget what the walk-up song is. But, I mean, it works for Reynolds, which, by the way, I can't hear Reynolds come up to Whiskey for My Men and whatever it is.
Yeah.
I can't hear him walk up to that without just hearing him did you hear his response when they said, "Why'd you change it to that?"
No.
They were like, "Why'd you pick that song? Why'd you change it to that?" And in true boring Brian Reynolds fashion, he just went, "'Cause it's a jam." That's it. So now every time I hear it, I'm like, "That's a jam." That's all I hear. So anyway, Rowdy brings the kid down on the field, and because baseball is full of goodness and karma, he's at the time that they put the post up, 444 since that day. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like there's cool things wrapped around this. But one of the interesting things, Shabuzi, a bar song. I'm not sure which one of those is the band and which one is the song, but apparently he changed his walk up to that. I am an old man, I suppose. I don't know. Well, Shabuzi doesn't sound like a band to me, but then a bar song sounds like the name of the song. Or maybe he's just describing what the song Shabuzi is.
Yeah, I don't know.
He changed it to Shabuzi, which is a bar song.
I'm lost.
Yeah. So Sherrod's going to allude to the next thing I said. I was going to say, thank you for bringing us back to this. Tellez said he made an adjustment back to how he hit early in his career. And I like how he says, so what does that tell you? Tellez said, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down my way. Mm-hmm. Henry Davis was sent to AAA on an assignment to get better. And upon doing so, he went back to his old batting stance. Jack Sawinski was up here trying not to strike out, and it wasn't working because he wasn't doing damage. So they said, hey, do what you were doing last year. And they sent him to AAA to work on it. And his batting stance changed back to a little more like what it was last year. And now Rowdy Tellez, if I'm going down, I'm going down my way. Okay, so I'm going to put three things together and say, everything that you've done, Andy Haynes, you've had to undo and say, go back to before I started messing with you. Is that really what's going on now? I'm projecting, right?
Right.
I don't,
right.
But that feels that way. And I think that's what is being meant when they say, or when Sherrod says, so what does that tell you? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And how does that not tell you that? What are you, what are you to think? I'm going down my way.
Right. I mean, it's exactly what it seems like. And I just don't know how they as an organization head can not see it. Like, we can't continue down this path where he's actually hindering our hitters. It's not that he's not helping them. He's hurting them.
And Nunley has been hired by Key Brian Hayes to continue to be his personal, right? You know what I mean? Like, we're hearing all these things, and how do you come out of that?
Right.
Probably one way is, well, he figured out that they needed to go back to their old way, so kudos to him. No.
Pretty sure Shelton said, do what you were doing before.
Well, maybe that's true too. But even then,
there's like some stuff out there. Like, I think Shelton has stepped in a little bit this year.
Yeah, he should. Mm-hmm. Former hitting guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. We were sitting there, and there was a guy that was sitting next to me, and I never did get his name. Super nice guy. And he had his grunts during certain times, right? And a little frustrated at different things, and frustrated that Majinski went 1 2/3 and they took him out. I said, well, he's a relief pitcher. And he goes, I know, but these guys are paid to throw the ball. Let them throw the ball, which is why I laughed when he said that before we hit record. And I'm like, and I obviously didn't say anything, but he was a super nice guy. And he ended up, like, we just ended up talking a lot for different scenarios, right? Yeah. And he kept saying, he kept wanting them to steal more and to run the hit and run. And there was a time when they ran the hit and run, and it was a Key that was hitting, and he hit it behind the second baseman as he was trying to cover. Oh, sorry. And before that at bat, he goes, third pitch, he's on a move, we're doing a hit and run. And it was the second pitch, and I was like, hey, that's a win. But we were going through, and he kept saying, like, he would say things, and he would ask, we would just talk. And we were talking about Rowdy. And he says they should have got rid of him before he started hitting a little bit. Now we're going to get, more length to this, right? And it's kind of the idea. And that's what you're worried about. We all were, right? The same concern.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you look at it, the more you're like, you going to bring up Jake Lamb? You know what I mean? What are you going to do if you get rid of Rowdy? Brandon Belt? You know what I'm saying? Like anybody that you bring in to do, like to take this role has just as good of a shot of working out as Rowdy does.
Yeah.
Now they don't have a couple months of bad before it.
Right.
As Sherrod says, he had 35 home runs in Milwaukee the year after they fired Haynes. Dude, it's all over, right?
Yeah, the writing's on the wall.
Yeah. So, anyway, what they really need is for Tellez to hit.
Mm-hmm.
When it really comes down to it. Because you bring up Jake Lamb, it's the same thing. You're saying, I don't know if he... Now, you're tired of him. You use a different face, but you might get the same result. And you might get some good results. But I'll be honest with you. You might get some good results if Rowdy starts hitting.
Right.
You might not, but you also might not if it's Jake Lamb. Or like Friday, we said Aaron Shackelford, like just bring him back. I'm just, obviously I'm kidding, but like the idea is that it's kind of a crapshoot no matter. There's nobody out there that you can just go get right now in June.
Right.
Certainly not left-handed, which I'm going to be honest with you. That's the most important part of this.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've already, if you just needed anybody, well, Connor Joe's already doing it. Right. But the fact that Sawinski's not hitting home runs and O'Neal Cruz is really we'll get into Cruz some other time because we just don't know. Like, I keep waiting for that. Like, I gave you a pass a lot because, you missed a whole season. But he does just enough to say, like, yeah, he's coming around. And then I need more. We need a hot streak from him. Right. You have one hot streak and you're like, all right, he's there. He's got 9 home runs. He has a hot streak where in a week he hits 4 homers. All of a sudden you're like, yeah, he's having a good year or a decent year. Yeah. So anyway, I think from where we stand right now, Rowdy Tellez, and you can counter this or go for it. He just needs to hit. If he hits, you keep him around.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I was tired of Rowdy Tellez, the first baseman, but I like Rowdy Tellez. Like I've learned to kind of like him, and now I just want him to do good. And if he's not doing good, I'll be the first one to say, let's get him out. Like,
oh, we've said it. Yeah,
but I do like him, and I like the Pirates. So if he's doing good, we're doing good. I'm here for it. Yeah, he needs to hit. And he needs to hit home runs.
Yeah, I think that goes without saying, right? Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of that. Liking a guy doesn't mean that, you want to keep him around if he stinks. You can still like him.
Right.
I love Cole Tucker. I don't want to see him for playing for the Pirates anymore. You know what I mean? He was a fun guy. Yeah. He's super nice to us whenever we he got us tickets to go to the game, and he was, super cool, but still,
right.
Everything has an expiration date. And I thought we got there with Rowdy. I really did. And the organization, for better or for worse, held with him a little bit. We've seen a flash. Now, I'm still not there. I think there's work to be done. He's got 2 home runs. And in this stretch, he has 1. I just need to see some more lift. Rowdy said it when he was on Foul Territory one day. He's like, well, these guys don't need me to just walk and hit singles. Like, I'm just going to slow the base runners down. Like, I need to hit the ball hard. I need to get it in the air and hit home runs. That's what my value is. It's not clogging the base paths.
I mean, even doubles. Doubles help. I mean, he hit a double today. He scored on a base hit.
Yeah. 100%. And that's not just like a double, like ground ball down the line double like we were seeing. Like he lifted the ball. I mean, he gave it a ride. And I think that's important. And that's the kind of stuff that you need from him moving forward. Dude, Saturday was like, and I'm like this, right? I'm a passionate baseball fan. I tend to sit back and watch, and I watch the play. I watch the crowd. I watch the whole thing, and I find all these stupid things like I can't go to a major league debut without a tear in my eye because I think about how hard this kid's worked, and it's just I'm that kind of guy, right? And I couldn't help but like, I mean that, the excitement, and it's like retrospect, right? I'm standing there and he hit the home run, and I'm like, and then I caught myself just going, look at this. Like I'm looking at the crowd, and I'm like, one swing, and they're right in it, and he did the curtain call and the whole thing. And I sent a tweet out saying like that it was an emotional moment. Not like that I'm weeping, right? But it was like the excitement of it. There's all, there's different kinds of emotions. The excitement of everything and the way that it played out and the way that you just had to know that meant something to him.
Yeah.
And then the Rowdy chants that kept going. And then he gets up again. And we talked about it. I was like, are they going to boo him before his next at bat? Because they're like, yay, you hit a home run and we're winning, but we're still going to boo you. But no, they were all in. Rowdy chants, the whole thing. And what did he do? He backside base hit with 2 runners on and 2 outs. You don't have to hit the home run then.
Right.
I'll take this single. You drove in 2 runs with it.
Yeah.
Right? And then he ends up scoring the 4th run, took part in all 4 runs of the game. Coincidentally off a Michael Taylor hit too, which is hilarious in and of itself. And, it was just this thing. But what did he say afterwards? He said how emotional it was and how it really meant a lot. And that he's never said like, I shouldn't be booed.
Right.
So anyway,
he's owned up to it.
It was a really cool moment. And that might be the only moment that he has in Pittsburgh. Like it might be. This whole thing might end up going, this might be a hot streak. And if this is a hot streak, that's not what you want from a hot streak. A hot streak, I want to see him hit 3 homers in a week. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the kind of hot streak I want him to go on. I'll take this one. But if that's his only moment, I'm glad I was there for it. It was a pretty cool moment. I don't think it's like the Makoviak moment, you know what I mean? Where it's going to, be 15, 20 years down the road, we're going to be talking about it. But it's, for Rowdy Tellez and for the people at that game, I think you'll probably remember that. I made a note in my ballpark app. I always try to make like notes about the game that I went to. I made a note in the ballpark app that it was the Rowdy game and the crazy thing and all that. So I don't know, man. You got anything else? You did have something before, and now's the time. This is a mic drop opportunity for you. We're gonna.
I already
close
forget
this.
What it was, to be honest.
Well, it's going to be Ben Heller because the game on Sunday ended with Ben Heller just getting absolutely obliterated, and the Pirates not making a move. And not getting the sweep here. In part because of that, in part because I'm going to let you riff on it, man, because you had a lot.
I mean, there's not a lot. So the foul ball in the first inning, like that was clear.
Pass ball.
Should have been able.
It was a pass ball.
That should have. They should have been. One of those umpires should have been able to see something. And I feel like, okay, even if you're not going to let the coaches challenge that, the umpires should be like, if no one saw it, let's just check it real quick. My goodness, just. Hey, did he foul it? Yeah. Okay, it was a foul ball. Like, we don't even need a review. Like,
well, but
just
it's
call
not.
a guy.
It's not like it's a rule,
It needs
right?
fixed.
It's
It
a
needs
rule.
fixed.
It needs fixed, 100%. But
Yeah,
the rule does because
that's
it's
where I'm getting
non-reviewable, 100%.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. And because they end up scoring a 3rd run there, there is no extra inning.
Yep.
And I love that. You told me because I didn't see it. Henry Davis says we got to be better than one call.
Yeah.
You were pretty much better than that. Like, you outscored them without that one call.
But Davis struck out or popped out with two guys in scoring position, right? So
Yeah,
he should
yeah.
be the one to say it,
And I
regardless
love
of
that.
regardless of that call. If
Mhm.
he just gets a hit there,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
no doubt. And I love him taking ownership of that. I love that he said that. But in reality, that's a poorly missed call. That was bad. And Heller doesn't
Yeah.
even have to make all. Then Heller doesn't have to get shelled because we win 4-3.
Yeah, and as far as Jared Jones coming out, we're on it. We don't have to get into this because of time, but we're on opposite sides of this. I think you take him out every single time. Not every, but when you were planning on a shorter day, I think you protect Jones and Skeens. That would be my stance. Jake, you thought no, you need.
I thought he had one more inning in him, but I also I'm not against it. I thought he had one more in him.
Yeah,
But one thing I did love, infield fly rule. Cruz catches it and drops it on the ground, starts laughing. Jared Jones says, "Give me the ball."
are you serious?
They
Dude.
were showing Jones. And like Cruz is like laughing, looking at the runners, and Jones is like, "Give me the ball."
He was, dude. I love when Jones gets ticked.
He was so in it, man.
I love when he gets ticked. After the play where I don't know what Jones was trying to do, cutting off Rowdy on that slow. Like, I don't even know.
I don't think Rowdy knew what he was doing.
Rowdy couldn't charge that because he saw this steamroll like Jones coming over. And so he kind of waited and he can't even do anything with that.
Right.
Nick Gonzalez was never going to make it there in time. So it really would have been like Rowdy fielding it and trying to like cut him off, or even tag the runner, because I think if he waits for the ball, the runner's going to get too far. But then Jones comes over and like lays on the ground and tries to, and Rowdy's just looking at him like, "What are you doing?" Well, then Jones got ticked and got out of that jam, super upset. I also, another funny moment I'll say was on Saturday, the double play that Miranda hit into. It goes to Gonzalez, not hit real hard. He flips it up to Cruz as he comes across. And I went back to watch and see if they made a comment. He threw it 90 miles an hour at Tellez to get the double play. He had him by like a step and a half. He probably didn't need to go 90. Now they say that like he typically throws even harder than that, but like on a double, like Tellez caught it back against his body. Like he didn't even get an opportunity to get the glove out there. He had to pull it back like this and catch it. And of course, Tellez gives him a hard time for that. And there's been some people who have kind of credited Tellez for some of the accuracy that you're seeing from Cruz because he likes to wait and then fire at 117. Yeah. And Tellez that one time early in the season caught the ball and just like basically crow hopped and threw a absolute seed right back at Cruz. And he's yelling at him like, "You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to buy new gloves. Like it hurts like you have him, just throw the ball." And since that time, there's been way less like crazy throws from Cruz. And so there's a little bit of like, hey, you don't have to do that. Well, this one in particular kind of got him and they were laughing about it. But I was like, I got to see how hard he threw it. But it was 90, which that's still really fast. But right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like that's probably somewhat normal on a double play.
But I mean, there's no need. Like you had him by a lot. But anyway, I don't know. Yeah, 90 didn't feel like it was as hard as what I thought maybe it would be. It seemed to really catch Rowdy off guard.
Yeah.
By the way, that was the top of the 7th. Rowdy hit the homer in the bottom. So I don't know.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, anything else?
I'm good, man.
Is Ben Heller going to be on this team in St. Louis?
I don't know.
Perez is coming back off. Is Heller going down?
Yeah. Yeah.
You heard it here, folks. Thanks for listening. if you guys aren't, well, first off, I'll say thanks to the people who were listening live and in the chat. We always appreciate it. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, pay attention. Usually around 9 o'clock on Sundays. Thursdays are kind of a crapshoot. We don't really know what time we're going on, but 9 o'clock on Sundays most of the time. Come in and watch live. Join in the chat. Get involved. So we like it. It gives us a little bit extra things to talk about sometimes. And if you're just listening on audio, check it out on YouTube. Check it out for the live show. It's a good time.
Yeah. Come hang out.
Come hang out with us. Yep. Let's go Bucks.
Yep. Let's go Bucks.
Thanks for listening to my dad and Uncle Jake on the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Bridge2Buctober. Don't forget to subscribe so you know when new episodes are released. Clear the deck, cannonball coming, and let's go Bucks!